about that the essential or the most important things in our life is, just linger and devote into God's word. Before I go further, I want to thank Pastor Iwan and wife, Pastor Petrus and wife. Thank you for giving me such an opportunity to share the words. And today, if as some of you guys perhaps already know what is our theme, or I will say the motto or the words that we have been using for entire year. It's being interesting. So I feel I'm so blessed with this word. It seems like cliche. Maybe every single of us go to the market or and it's just very cliche knowing this word being interesting. Like, what does that even mean? Sometimes it's just too common. I guess most of us also experience the same thing when we already know the words and it's very familiar with us in every daily basis. We tend to not study further about that words. I guess it's the same with the word of God, like how many of you guys brought up or was born and grew in Christian family? You can raise your hand. No? Not many of us. Yeah, apparently I am. I was born in Christian family. My father he was a pastor, and every single morning what we did is reading the Bible at 5 p.m. in the morning. And sometimes I felt like this is very sucks and I don't want to do it. But at the end, now when I grew up and I'm becoming like 28 years old Johanna, it just changed my entire perspective, because before, if I'm not going through that process, then probably I'm not be here. So I think the word being interesting must start from process, something that is not interesting. But we work it out, because everything written on the Bible is something interesting. We find many stories in the Bible starts from ordinary people and they become extraordinary because they have encounter with God. So I believe all of us also, when we heard the word being interesting, sometimes we just, no, like I'm not really interested, or you guys might just leave that word on the table, but now we want to just take it personal. Like, hey, yes, I want to be interesting. It's not because of the extraordinary we are after we have Jesus in our life, but it's more like how the process works. From the valley you go to the up to the hills, or maybe God can bring you up to the mountain. Like, we never know. But today, so Pastor Iwan was texting me a few days ago, and he mentioned that, oh, Johanna, can you share about how to be a good parents? About parenting. So I said, yeah, but then like I haven't experienced how to like having son or daughter. So I was kind of like, oh, it's really challenging. But then he clarifies again. He said that, oh no, you can take from the children's ankle, which is, it sounds really fun, because I've been going through that moment where I was rebel. I don't like my parents. I hate my life. I hate my everything. It just sucks. But then God has changed and transformed my life to become a new creation. So I believe that whatever words that I'm going to share, it's become encouragement for you guys. Okay, before I start, I want to share something about the story when I was little. So when I was 6, my mom often passed me a big bucket. So it's like a bucket of grocery. and she often bumps on me. And it's like in the middle of doing something, maybe drawing or studying or watching TV. She bumps on me and then just passing this grocery bucket and then telling me to go to buy something. Not only one thing, but it ended up like a very long list that I have to go and buy to the market. And it was really suck. I don't like it. I always try to ask my mom, like, why? Why do I need to do this thing? She never give me like very clear explanation about it, but there was one time she just asked me, is that how a good kid behave? Now I'm asking like how many of us perhaps have encountered this kind of experience when you're asking your kid, go and buy something, go and clean your mess, and they kind of like rebel. They don't want to. They reject it. They don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. Or they're asking why. That's the most common word that kids often ask. Why? I hate that because I hate this answer because it makes me think that being a good kid sucks. Being a good kid is boring. Being a good kid is just not fun, It makes me think that if the other kids doesn't obey their parents, that means they are not a good kid. So now I start thinking I'm being so judgmental now. I'm becoming a very judgmental individual because my mom didn't give me explanation of why do I need to do this, and then she answered with the question back asking me, is that how the good kid behave? Sometimes we are so I can't say reckless with the words that we are choosing when we talk to our kids or children, or if you don't have children, maybe your niece, your nephew, or every single kids of it, or if probably like you're working in the kids environment or any kids, you have to be careful with the words that you're choosing. Today I want to talk more about why. W-H-Y. Children's spirituality emerged from desire to know, not just what, but why, from Robert Cole. So there is one psychiatrist. He does further study about kids, children, and the development. So there was one time he published his book and he wrote about children's spirituality, and he concluded that most of the kids they're not just satisfied only with the word what, but they need to know why. Why did you say that? Why did you ask me to do this? Why did you? Okay, maybe some of us, I let you guys to just like thinking about your childhood when you were still little. Maybe there is a time where you feel, if I was on that age and I have this strength that I have right now, I will do something. Maybe I will punch them on the face, or maybe I will just say something, Mom, that's not right. Or, but then on that time they're weak. They don't have that strength. They don't have that knowledge to actually say any single words. So this is what happened. I will explain more in the pros and cons. So after I hear the answer, there is some benefits and there is some disadvantage. The benefit is no space to reasoning why we have to act in certain ways. I know this is amazing because my mom, perhaps she wants to get the things done. That's all. So if you guys are working in the corporation or in the company where they're having very strict rules, regulation, and time framing and all that. Normally they just like, I don't care what strategy that you're using, but I just want you to get this thing done. Okay, now I want you to actually think about this for a minute. Now, are we actually being a manager for our kids, or are we actually being a parents? Because parents have different responsibility compared to manager. Manager, they just think about how to get things done, but about your emotional feeling, about your development in the future, it's not their responsibility. It's not their responsibility. So on that time, I feel like there is no space on reasoning why we have to act in a certain ways. And my mom is very straightforward. Yeah. So if any of you knows, or maybe you haven't heard about my story, so my mom is from Java. So people who came from Java Island, they tend to be very polite, they talk very slow, they really concerned about someone's feeling. They're not straightforward. And then my father is from East Indonesia, which I don't know whether it's true or not, but our grandchildren are like half Fijian Portuguese. So that's what I heard from them. And with this culture, they tend to be very, very straightforward. They just say A or B or C, and that's all. They don't have second thought at some point. Very straightforward. But then after they're together, after they get married, now like it seems like turn around. Like my mom becoming more strict, like stricter than my father. She becomes more even more straightforward compared to my father. So I was expecting my mom will be like very polite, very gentle. It's okay, you can do it next time. No, that's not in my mom's character. She will just always say yes or no, and you have to do it. That's what happened. So when I was little, she didn't give me a chance to even talk back to her. And then there is another good advantage of this is that it gives me a space to think. I think if I'm not going through this, like this scenario, I think I won't be thinking about these two reasons why I don't like to be told to do something that I don't like. The first is like because I think it's being a good kid is sucks, or the second one is because if someone else not doing it, that means they're bad people, they're bad persons. So I'm becoming very, very, very judgmental towards honor. And then my mom, I'm pretty sure that her motivation or her intention is to make me to be more obedient. She teaches me to be obedient in the early age, but then without explanation, again, I don't understand. There is some disadvantage. The first one is I feel that some of the parents, they take advantage of kids' ability or capacity to do something to lift their to-do list. Okay, now I'm not trying to make it sounds worse, but this is what really happened. There was one time I asked my mom when she actually do something, and then she called my sister, and then she's asking her to go and buy something. And then I asked her, why? We can actually go, it's just very close, we can go on our own. And then she said, no, it's okay. So then we get all these things done quickly. So sometimes some of the parents, they do that because they want to get things done, their list done as quick as they can. And I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but some of parents, they still use the taking the advantage of their kids to do something. And I hope that we can be sure with this kind of, thinking. Don't make your kids think that way too, because I think it's not right. Sometimes as a parents, we have to partner with kids, not that we ask them to finish up our to-do list, but more like we want to partner with them. And second is, not all kids have the ability to make their own choice. So this is the other disadvantage. Because if the parents already tell the kids, hey, can you do this? And not giving the chance to actually explain, or the kids give a feedback, then they feel that, oh, that means I don't have right to actually choose. Some kids can grow and being so passive and they being so quiet, they don't want to talk. And the strong reason is because in their past, they are not used to be given the chance to actually make their own choices. So that's one of the disadvantages. And there are no space for kids to process what's good or bad because there are no reason to explain. And the other disadvantage is all of the tasks is done, but the implication of their act can be understandable on their thinking development. Is it really implicable for them in their thinking development? So sometimes we have to think about the thinking development of our kids. Okay, it's not only for like I'm teaching how to do parenting, because of course you guys are more amazing compared to me. But I want to share what happened in my the entire journey of my life after I've been encountered this scenario. The first one, I've got bitterness. Every single time in my life before God made me new was just a complaint. I complained to God, why God? Why do I need to be born in this family? Why? Why? I'm just asking, can you explain to me? And I start hating my parents. I start hating my mom with the way she acts. I start hating my father at some point. I felt like I'm just so depressed. And I feel like I'm just unwanted in this house. Because there is no space for me to actually make my own choice. There is no space for me to actually share my thoughts to my parents, until I learned that maybe it is not about my mom. It is not about my mom, but it is also about me. Why don't I just lower my expectation towards my mom instead of having high expectation? Sometimes maybe some of us, if you guys come in here without any expectation, I want to tell you that our background, our past, it does really affect what happened in the present right now. If sometimes you feel like that bitter, like you're really, really disappointed with your mom, you're really, really disappointed with your father, then you have to check. You have to do the hard check and see what happened in the past, because it could be a reason why your relationship with your family is not really good, because there is no space for communication between you and your parents, or between the parents and with the kids. I expect my mom too much. I expect her to be a polite mom. I expect her to be saying yes to whatever I want. Not whatever I say, but whatever I want. But then I realized, if I'm not going through that process, maybe I haven't got a lesson to be more having self-control. But then God let me go through that season, so then I learned how to handle myself, how to handle my emotion. Maybe if we have a problem with our peers or friends, and you guys feel that, oh, this is just like doesn't work. It doesn't work like this. I don't like it. Maybe you have to just think to yourself and start to lower your expectation towards someone else. Because the more you put the high expectation through your parents, the more you will feel the greatest disappointment. And if you let yourself to have disappointment, then it will end up to bitterness, as I said. Until I also come to the realization that God does not make me to have bitterness. I know bitterness does exist, but God didn't create me to have that bitterness. I want to invite you to open up our Bible. Let's turn to 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8. We can read this scripture. It will appear on the screen. Meanwhile, I will open that on my Holy Phone Bible. So, 1 Peter 4, verse 8, it says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers above a multitude of sins." And in Proverbs, I will repeat that again so that you can remember. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Because love covers over a multitude of sins. On the Proverbs 10 verse 12, it says, can wait for the slide. Meanwhile, I can open up my phone as well. So, verse 12. So, the Bible says, hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. So I think in that moment, I have to lower my expectation towards my mom. And why? Because I know that she loves me. I know that I also love her. So why do I need to make it such a big problem, such a big conflict? Because even on the Proverbs in 1 Peter, it says that love covers a multitude of sins. Love covers a multitude of sins. Love covers all of our wrongdoings. I guess if we want to be being judgmental to someone, we have to realize who are we. Because even God, His love covers our sin. We have to remember who we are right now in this stage and who God is. If God can forgive us, why can't we forgive someone else who hurts us? Do not ignore the power of communication. I wonder how many of us have come to a reconciliation with their children or their parents. How many of us? Now I'm just kind of like asking you guys to think for a minute. Now, have you ever initiated a conversation with your children or, maybe in this case, like with your children, about not only asking them, hey, what do you want to eat, or hey, what do you want to drink, but beyond that, have you ever had a conversation where they can actually share their thought to you? Have you been open yet to them? Have you been welcoming yet to their ideas? Have you really took your times off to just talk to your children? Your kids have a value. Few days ago, I shared to the Sunday school teachers, and I told them, because some of them also struggle with how kids cannot be focused when it comes to the Sunday school section. So I tell them what what I've done, I normally look them on the eye, not with, full of hatred, but I look them on the eye, and I try to explain to them, hey, I value you as someone. I don't see you as a kid, I don't see you as a children, but I see you as my partner in this Sunday school environment. We work together. I will teach you how to read the Bible. I will teach you the story of the Bible. But can you also teach me how to be respectful? So it's just like not only one way as a parent, you ask your kids to do whatever you want to do, but more like two of you must work together, like partnering together. Or perhaps some of us have felt irritated by your children, and because of that, therefore, you don't want to talk to your children. And when you feel so frustrated, you came to the pastor. And then now the pastor has another problems, and you guys will add another problems to their own problems. It's easy. It's not really hard. It's just like you have to be brave to start the conversation with your kids. Of course, we are all brave, but at some point, it's very tiring and exhausting when you initiate a conversation with your kid and letting them talk, because they will talk a lot. So if we look back and see how our past, how our childhood affect our parenting system right now, is what I have done. You have to ask this question. Is what I have done to them has made them this kind of person? So you have to get that list on your agenda. It's very important. What kind of person that you want your kids to be in the future? Not only raising them up, giving them money, or do whatever they want, but beyond that, think bigger. What is the main thing? What is, you're partnering with God, you're partnering with your children too. You're asking God what, because kids are a gift, it's from God. So it's not you who has the authority over them, but always remember that God is the one who has highest authority over them. After going through bitterness, I also went through insecurities. I felt like my mom's question had brought me to the concept that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough because not every time I will say yes when she's asking me to go and buy grocery and do grocery. And I will never be. I always feel that I am not a good person. I'm not a good kid. That kind of thinking always stuck in your mind because of that word. So that's the reason why I encourage us to be careful on choosing your language, because there might be time where I couldn't meet my parents' expectation, and now I feel really bad with that. I feel insecure. I feel really insecure. Maybe I can read you one of my devotion. So it was, I guess this will give you the idea of how insecure I am. So this is my diary devotion. I normally just put some notes, and then I write down like what I've been thinking about one particular scripture and what I've been praying about some things. So since I was little, my dad always taught me to make prayer requests and pray for that over and over until I received the answer. So I did. I prayed that there will be no bullying at school. There won't be people making fun of my physical appearance. There won't be anxiety, fear, and insecurity when I go to school. However, those prayers have never been answered. It had been the most scariest moment in my life, facing the rejections for 12 years. Later on, this makes me believe that my prayer might not be powerful enough. I even thought that God wasn't listening to me. When I was 5 years old, I had desire and dream in my heart to have siblings. Even it's very simple prayer. And I've been praying every time, ever since, every minute, hoping that my prayer will be heard. I thought, if the other prayer God didn't listen, maybe this one will work. Apparently, after 18 years waiting, God answered my prayer. But then, by the time He gave me sibling, I have no time to spend with her. Because on that time I need to move to other city, and I have to do university on that time. So in the ferry, I have no time to spend with her, as we are in the very big gap of distance. Ever since those experiences happened, that makes me think that praying for some things is useless. And indeed, it happened again when I prayed for my father to be healed. But instead, God took him in the moment when I wasn't ready yet. It hurts my heart deeply. I lost my hope, dream, and direction when it's gone. I felt I lose the role model, father, protector, and friend. Until today, I actually often doubt that prayer has an ultimate power to change my situations. That leads me to the understanding that I may not deserve to even only ask God. Lately, God has been reminding me that I will be receiving something great. And then, it reflects on my personal reflection. I said, God, it's actually up to you. I won't reject your gift or plan for my future. Who am I anyway? Just the ashes, the most unwanted one, rubbish, and have no value. I don't deserve any good things in my life. Today, I read one of the particular page on this book, which is my devotion book, and it was titled as More Than We Can Imagine. It's about prayer, Genesis 41, verse 21 till 42, that God can do things more than what we ask. The only thing I've been praying for today is a heart to receive whatever answer for the next couple days, and fire to continue life again. For if I'm asking things from God, often brought me to deep disappointment. So I prayed for the guidance of the right attitude towards my situation. Ever since I read this one, I remember that I've been to that moment of insecurity. So that's why it does affect even in my spiritual life. I want to encourage you, please take your time before you talk to your children, because it could affect their spiritual life as well. I have been raised by the family who fears God, but at some point they didn't choose the right language, and it really gives me implication for the rest of my life that I have to find this answer. But I believe that God allows this happen because there is a reason. He wants to process me through this journey of life. It's okay. Don't be ashamed if you have been going through the insecurities. What is the insecurities in your life? Maybe in your prayer. It can be reflected in your prayer. You pray about something and you just realize, oh, partly I pray out of my insecurities. And God doesn't want you to pray out of your insecurities. What I've been writing in this book, in this devotion, is just out of my insecurities. If you can see the implication, it does affect their spiritual life too. So be careful, be wise. Even my prayer always out of my insecurities, as I said. I wonder how many of us also reflecting the feeling of insecurity in our kids. Sometimes we don't realize that we tell kids to do some certain things because it's out of our insecurities. We feel insecure. We feel like, oh, if these children doing this, then it will break this stuff, and then I have to spend a lot of money to pay for that again. You know, like we just, there is nothing wrong with that, but it's more like not putting insecurities when you are talking to your kids. When we pray about our kids, what sort of feeling you have put at the first place? So let's say some of the parents, they are, I can say they are very insecure. They pray for their kids to, let's say, win the competition, so then they have proud when they're mingling with their friends, or you push your kids too hard to actually meet, you know, the highest expectation of school, and at the end they just burn out, they overwhelmed, they cannot continue. Sometimes we have to not only, you know, like, because all of the insecurities can affect the way we talk to our children. Even my father, I thought it was normal, but after I've been, you know, studying further about this, like there are many moments and times where he like spoke to me out of insecurities because some certain reason he felt insecure, and I can barely see through his eyes, through his face. So kids are very sensitive. So there we go. I want to encourage us to, you know, not telling them to do something just out of insecurities. It will reflect it on the way you think about them. Now, I've gone through bitterness, insecurities, and the third one is lack of self-confidence. Remember, when I'm being a very judgmental person in the past, and I think it's just a pattern. It's just the implication after there's no reason. No explanation will lead children to have lack of self-confidence. I highly adore some of the parents who spend their time taking their children to talk about serious stuff. Let's say they give the reason why I don't want you to do this, not because you are bad or you're, you know, like some of negative words that you want to tell them, but instead put the value. People who have lack of self-confidence, they just never been told that they are good enough. They just never been told that they have capacity. They just never been told that they are actually have value and potential in their life to actually move forward. So when you explain to your kids, you are actually building up the foundation. You build up the foundation. You talk about good stuff, talk about good words, talk about, hey, I know you can do it. Hey, I know you're capable enough. I know you can actually go through this. You can pass your exam. You have been spending your time studying and everything. You're capable. You're having a potential to actually move forward. So there is a sense that you trust your kids with whatever they're doing. You trust them. I know you can do it. I trust you. I pray for you. I support you from here. This is what happened when I was little. My father is not really type of father who like accompanying you when you're studying. He's a busy man, so he will just like let you study on your own. And in the morning, whenever I go to my exam, when I was still in primary school or whatever, I bump to him and I tell him like how nervous I was. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I cannot pass the exam. And then what he did was just like, you know, you're my daughter, so I know you can do it. Maybe I wasn't there, but my prayer is always with you. So before this is funny because he always keep making a joke, and he said that by the time you touch your pen, that's when I pray. Now I realize, like, what? How did he know that that's the time when I took up my pen and started writing? So it was just like funny, but it's true, you know. Like I wonder how many of you guys have been thinking about it. Like when your kids going to exam, take 5 minutes, sit down with them, pray for them, you know. Like tell them that I trust you that you can pass this exam, you know. So our job as a mature individual, I can say mature individual because I'm not a parent, is to lead these children to choose the right thing. To choose the right thing. People who has lack of confidence, they tend to be hard to make their own decision because they are not used to it. You know, their parents never give them space to choose something. Instead, they just make a choice for them. Okay, let's say now going to the makers. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Takes time to actually decide. Now the parents, okay, just go with the strawberry milkshake, double mac, and that's all. You know, chips. You know, you don't give them time to actually, you know, think or choose. This is how sometimes parents can become so impatient. So, but then beyond that, I'm not just urging or like encourage you to talk to your kids only when you guys are going out for dinner or for lunch. Beyond that, you know, sometimes you need to talk to them, teach them how to make decision without judging them, but tell them that there is always consequences in the decision that they're going to make. Let's say I just had chit chat with Fanny today, and then her son came to her and asking for the phone to play with the gadget and all that. But then she offered the watermelon juice or whatever, the drink before on the previous service, and then he rejected. But I love the way she responds to that. Okay, you reject that, then don't play with the phone. So sometimes it's a good thing to actually let them choose something. Not only being disciplined, but there is moral message behind that, because he's trying to teach her son how to be responsible with their own choices. I encourage us not making decisions for your kids, but also there will be put some certain cases where they can actually make their own choices and introduce them to the consequences. Guide them if their choices can lead to some certain consequences or can harm them or something that is, of course, not leading to the good things. We have to be the wall because again, like it's a gift from God. We have to take care of them. Unfortunately, not many parents are interested on doing this. Again, it's very exhausting. You take your time, talk to your children. Oh my goodness, it's not an easy thing. You know, dealing with children is hard. Okay, because this thing is only applicable to those who are committed. It's not 1 day or 2 days. Whenever talking about parents, I always imagine if one day I have a children, maybe it's really hard, you know. Like being single is just amazing because I felt I have so much flexibility. But you guys who have kids, you know, it's just amazing because it's not easy to look after the children. It's a commitment for by the time you have your kids until you grow them up, until they're becoming someone in their future. But one thing that I want to encourage you, don't teach them to be someone or something, but teach them to be a mature individual. That's what I've confidence. And the last one is fear. So I found fear. Whenever I go everywhere, mingling with people, going to the new place, I always feel this sense of fear. I fear of the social acceptance. I feel fear of the rejection. There is always fear that I will not please my mom. Maybe I will not please my parents. Again, remember in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, it says that fear does not come from God. If the way your parenting system affecting their human system to become a fear person, then you have to think again. Maybe that was wrong, because our aim teaching our kids is so that they have confidence. They don't feel fear when they're facing life and all that. That's what happened my entire journey life. But then I found God transformed my life. So if some of you guys knows that a few years ago I came here with nothing, and then I started Hillsong College back then, like 5 years ago. 2 years ago. 4 years ago, and then finish up my degree. So on that time, there's a lot of things that God actually trying to process my pattern, my perspective. Through Hillsong College, I found my identity. I've been. It's very hard and tough on that moment because I have to mingle with people who came from different background, which is normal, but it's just kind of very in the not high demands, but pressure, a big pressure on that time. And I have the language barrier and all that. It's just so hard on that time. But through there, I actually found my identity. I don't know why, but sometimes God will bring you to the wilderness, the place where you don't even know, you have nothing, and you start your journey there, and God changes your perspective. When you are maybe in your childhood, you find a lot of fear, anxiety, lack of self-confidence, all those things. Now I knew that God actually responsible to all those things, even though all those things are very, very, sucks, then God brings you to the transformation. I learned that language is matter. I learned that biblical perspective is essential. That means every single parents need to take their time to actually read the Bible. If not, then you actually fail to become parents. I go through counseling. If some of you guys maybe have ever known that I've got robbed when I was working in Broadway, and that was so horrible because I was working until the middle of the night. Suddenly there was a guy came and he's like, show me the money. I bring the gun and all that. It's just very horrible on that night. And then through that, the company where I'm working with, he recommended me to go through the counseling. Actually, there is nothing happened bleeding and all that, but they just recommend me to go to the counseling. So I met the psychiatrist for eight sections, and we've been talking about how this accident can actually, what is the impact, so that you don't get traumatized by this incident. And then out of nowhere, and I didn't even expect, what happened was, in this moment of 8-section counseling, it took me back to my childhood, where I have this conflict, I have this all rejection, I have this all. Now I cannot make a choice because on that time, I have 2 members, and these 2 members asking me to go home early, which is it puts me in the big risk, because if I let them go, then I will be on my own, and then I handle all of the key and all that, and it will be too risky for me. But I cannot make a choice. I feel like I don't have right to make a choice. So I say, yes, you can do. And then through this counseling, psychiatrist told me that, yeah, it does affect your childhood, affect the way you make your decision, your choice. So I wonder if some of us perhaps we want to build our kids to become strong, but instead it could be all the way around, you know. So choose your language. In order to work with your kids, you have to have the ability to actually partnering with your kids, not seeing them as just a kid, you know, but see that they're my partner too. You're partnering, you know, like there is one Indonesian song say, aku dan keluargaku melayani Tuhan bersama-sama. As in, that means like not only you, not only your husband, not only your kid, but you all. So you guys are actually partnering to actually pursue, reach God's purpose in our lives. So respect kids. Now, we expect that kids respect us, but at some point we have to teach them how to respect us too, right? So with that, like how to teach kids to respect, they will see you, they see what you're doing. So respect them as someone who has value, and God put so much potential on their lives. Your kids deserve to get an explanation somehow. Seeking knowledge, try to find on your free time, go and find time to actually learn about how kids work, and you know, it's actually worth it, you know, to use your time for your parenting style. Now God has transformed me, and then lately I've been working together with Pastor Nur and Pastor Iwan. We work together to build up children ministry. So I think now it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Being interesting is not an easy thing. It's not like a cliche word, but you've been going through hard season, right? Like this is what happened. Like maybe I'm not in front of you guys right now, standing in front of you and telling you guys that now I'm doing children ministry, because if I'm not going through there, then I'm not here. So being interesting is more like you work out something, knowing, embracing that you're ordinary. Yes, we are ordinary, but our God is extraordinary, and He wants to work through you. He wants to work through you. He wants to partner with you. He wants to change all your old bad perspectives, all your patterns. He wants to change you to the entire new creation. Amen. I guess I'll leave that with you. So I want to encourage us to remember that for why, there is always explanation. Okay? Let's pray. God, we just thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you so much for your goodness. Thank you for this amazing time that we gather together. We learn your word. We learn from all through all of our journey that you work in us. You explain the things that we probably don't get the answer when we were still little, or maybe as a parents we don't have much time to actually explain to our kids. Help us, God, to actually understand, to know your will to our kids, Lord, and change our perspective and transform us in the new creation. In your name, Lord, we